I'm back for another video. This presentation is on the understanding the difference between theme and topic. So basically I'm just going to cover what they both mean and the difference between the two words, because I get the fact people do mix them up. Even I mix them up too. And they are both often intertwined, but they serve different purposes in terms of analysis and creativity, in terms of how we look at our stories and what components of us understanding texts. So let's get into it now. So what is a topic? So as we all know what a topic is, it's basically the subject that you're covering in your story or film or whatever the creative medium is that you're trying to tell a story through. So it's the topic it's basically the subject that's discussed in the film. It's how you want to tell that story openly. It's what the text overtly discusses or explores in terms of the issue that it wants to dive into. And it's very specific, and concrete in terms of what that topic is. For example, there's concepts like war, friendship, or there's climate change is another topic. So they are easily identifiable. So you know instantly what that film's trying to say. If the film is trying to talk about, it's a documentary on how the climate is changing, and it's how it will differ between the year we're in now, 2025, to 25 years time, which is in 2050. That is a documentary within itself, and the topic has been covered through that. So it must be stated, because you can obviously tell what the topic is without even people needing to tell you, because you can hear key words. It's basically direct and straightforward, because you know instantly that you know. They're actually telling you what the subject is about or what they're trying to cover in the story and stuff. So it's either summarized in a single word or a short phrase. Let's say they say, Carpe Diem, for example. Seize the day is something to do with, what does that cover? Maybe something to do with war, or something to do with the politics or something, or Roman history or something. So that was this next slide. What is a theme? So theme is basically the message of the film. So what that message is trying to cover. What's the message behind the film or the story that you're trying to... So what are you trying to tell people through that? So the insight that transcends the specific narrative. So it gives you the universal message. So what is that? So what are you trying to tell people? What's the message? Most stories have a clear central theme in terms of what they're trying to... I don't know how to explain, but The story is basically a man and woman falling in love. That's basically the topic. So it's mostly about family, relationships, which is the topic. But the theme is to... So what is the theme like? I mean, betrayal, for example, because he could be... Or manipulation is a theme. So it's more abstract. So it broadens the idea of the human experience. It's not always clear. Even some topics, sometimes, that it's not always clear what the theme is. But it can be identifiable once you grasp what that film has to say. So basically you're around a circle with whoever, with a group of people, and you're discussing the film or the book you read, and you're trying to dissect what the theme is. So you're trying to say the message of the film, like say about improving your mental health, for example. That could be about just making yourself better within yourself, health wise. Or you could say the theme could be that, like coping or managing yourself, or bettering yourself as a person. So it's discovered through analysis of story and elements. So it gives you the understanding of what that story is trying to tell you. Like, let's say, to uplift you or to motivate you. Not motivate you, but you could, motivate you or uplift you or see yourself in a positive way, for example. So themes emerge through careful reading. So you really need to read between the lines for you to get what the exact theme that the author is trying to say about life, society, or human nature. Let's say the theme, like I said, mental health, the theme is to feel comfortable within yourself, or to be confident and positive within yourself, for example. And don't be negative, or don't bring yourself down because someone else has said something horrible to you. Also, that could, let's say bullying is the topic, but the theme for that topic is to pick yourself up. Also, so the key differences, so definition, so identify that topic. So you need to determine what the work is explicitly going to be about. So you need to know what you want your work to... What topic are you going to cover? What do you want to say? What are you trying to... How you want to tell your story? What subjects you really want to explore? That's basically what the topic you're trying to identify, or jot down what you want to put as a topic of choice for people to feast their eyes on. So, and analyze the content. So you need to analyze that content in terms of what the topic, how you want to present that topic, what angle are you trying to look at. And then that's when the theme comes in, after you started to analyze the content that you want to do it through, and what angle you want to present it from. So once you have that, do both of these, identifying and analysing, you actually get the theme. You discover what the theme of that topic is through. You have to research. You can't just say that's the theme or that's the topic. There's research goes into this. You could do group research, you could do it on your own, however suits you best. But remember, you eventually have, every story has a theme, really. Sometimes it's just not easy to identify. This progression shows that topics and themes relate, but they are distinct as well, because they're both very different in terms of how you find out what you want to look for, how the story is portrayed. Sometimes people have the topic but they don't have the theme. That's that. Or sometimes they say love is a theme but it's not a theme because it's a topic. But love could be a theme in some way. But what are you trying to say? Because you're saying love, but you're just being too vague if you say one word. So what is the theme, really? What are you trying to say? Are you trying to say you need to, like, relationships are you saying that we need to be loving towards yourself, or are you trying to say loving towards yourself after a breakup, or are you trying to say if you and your partner communicate with each other, you'll most likely have a tight and close-knit bond? Is that what you're trying to say? So topics are the surface, but the theme is the very thing that lies beneath, which is some people struggle with. I sometimes struggle with finding themes of things. Like, it doesn't always come around. You have to watch the film again for you to understand what it is trying to say. So it's not always as clear as you think. It's like one of those films that have weird, strange narratives, so that non-linear narrative films particularly have that. So the key differences in terms of nature and scope. So topic characteristics are very specific and direct, because you will instantly recognise what the topic is straight away, because I tend to recognise the topic more than the theme. Or often it's very concrete. The entities are concrete. It's clearly stated within the film or the story that you're trying to address it to, and it has a focused perspective, so you know instantly that you're focusing on one thing, that one topic, but you're doing it through a certain way. You're doing it through a perspective that you are able to explore that story. So, and the theme characteristics are very broad and conceptual, because it has more of a in-depth feel to it. It's basically what you're trying to, what do you want people to learn from your story? When you tell your story, what do you want people to learn? Are you trying to tell people to stop doubting themselves? Or are you trying to say, you need to learn how to uplift yourself? Or don't worry about what other people think. Or a life lesson, you could say, is like, what's the moral of the story in some ways. Like, for example, the tortoise and the hare story. And the theme is often implicit in terms of ideas. So you're not always going to get, because sometimes it's very personal to that person who's telling that story, because they don't always, but it's up to you to identify what the theme is if you're reading or trying to watch a medium or something. And it requires interpretation because you're going to have to discuss it. But art is subjective, as we all know, but sometimes it's what you think it is about. So it's up to that person to know what they learned from that story. So, and has multiple perspectives, so it's not always as people look at things differently, or they understand things to explore the themes of a story differently. So these fundamental differences affect how we approach analysis and understanding of any text. So, in terms of that, is much a topic, as we all know. I'll get to the examples in a moment, but I could give examples anyway. Like I said about the environment, which is basically the topic, but are you using maybe about climate change, or the weather, which is about climate change as well. The theme, meaning, so what's the message behind that? Are you saying we need to take care of the earth? Or are you saying that that's the earth? Are you going for a bit more of a darker approach, saying that the earth we need to learn from our consequences of our actions because we caused this environmental problem ourselves? However you want to perceive it. So examples in literature. So in Romeo and Juliet, we know the topic is about, or the story we should say, is about the love between young people. So this young man and woman fall in love with each other, and they're from rival families. And love can bring both and tragedy, which is the theme of the film, or that's the message of the film. Julius Caesar, which is about political betrayal, but the theme for that is the destructive effects of betrayal on society. And the topic of Macbeth is ambition and power, and it's unchecked ambition that leads to his destruction, because it causes him to behave in a way that is corrupt, basically. So the topic and theme do come together. So let's say because one of my films is called Going for a Walk. So basically the topic is about bettering your mental health through exercise, which is walking, the basic form of exercise. And the theme for my film idea, one of my ideas, is peace or peace of mind, because you feel walking or doing the minimal, going outside and relieving your mind, is basically about having peace of mind. It means your mind is at rest, but you're not really thinking about the overwhelming nature of life and all the triggers that, all the stress that's controlling, making you overwhelmed and stuff. So that's basically the theme for my film. Is that peace of mind, basically. Because it gives you the exercise, relieves stress, basically. That's basically what I'm trying to say in the film. So these classic examples determine how themes emerge from topics. So the theme provides a deeper meaning to that story as the table is presented. So those themes provide. If you don't know the theme, you have to plan your story. What's the topic? Then you go into analysing. Then you go into the theme itself. So there's examples. Another example about non-literary concepts, beg your pardon. So climate change, as been discussed, is a topic of climate change policy, and the topic could be about, the example is about environmental regulations and international agreements. So if you want to do a documentary about that, then the theme is our moral responsibility for future generations. So we must make sure the next generation benefits from the changes. It's their responsibility. We have to set an example for them, basically. And artificial intelligence. So machines learning and automation technologies, which is a topic if you want to explore about that, for example. And the theme is human adaptation in a rapidly changing technological landscape. So, and the topic for education reform is about school funding and curriculum changes, and the theme could be about, or the example theme for this is equity and access in creative opportunities for all, because not everyone learns in the same way. So one of my documentaries I made years ago is about neurodiversity, and I wanted to explore different neuro conditions, hidden disability in particular, and the theme, or neurodiversity as I mentioned, and the theme for that I covered, it was about the daily life. I mean, struggles and overcoming struggles and challenging perception, basically, of what people think about your neurological condition. You're neurodivergent, because I'm just making it as a positive, negative as a positive, basically. In another film, I could give another example. My final year documentary, which is called Hacked, was about my personal experience with social media hacking, and the theme is isolation and loneliness, because I feel like I depended on it too much and no one kept me in check about my use of social media at the time. So that's what the theme is. in my film, so that was a real life example there that I've given my own ones. So how authors use theme and topic. So they select the topic, of course, because you have to select. That's the main thing you need to do as a first and foremost sort of thing. Then craft elements like by developing the characters, setting and plot. So you start by outlining who your characters are, where the story is set, or when, the time period as well. Some people do care about that. And the plot, what happens in the story basically. So you just list down what happens. And the theme is to thread a meaningful message throughout. So you have to say what the theme is in your story. What is it trying to say? And refine your work. So you have to make sure those elements that you've drafted supports that theme. If it doesn't, then maybe you have to correct what needs to be corrected. Audiences carefully balance explicit topics with implicit themes. Authors. The best works make themes discoverable without being obvious. The theme is something you can't give away. It's for the audience to try and work out what the theme is. As an author, however you want to portray yourself as an author, however you identify as the one that's telling the story, or the auteur, let's say, in terms of the film background for some people who are watching this channel. Yeah, so you have to make it, it's like show not tell basically. So you could tell what the topic is, but you don't tell what the theme is, because otherwise you'll give it away. Don't even make the character say it, or don't even show it, the theme. People have to work it out. They have to try and suss out what you're trying to portray. So it's very subtle. You have to keep it subtle. So the common mistakes and how to avoid. So it's a big one. This first one is about mistaken topic for theme, which I have done before. I can't lie. I have done it before. Like, for example, this is the common one we mistake for love as a theme rather than what the work says about love. But love could be a theme, obviously. But you have to say what kind of love are you exploring? Are you talking about unconditional love? Are you talking about tough love? Or something? What kind of, or how love can destroy, how love hurts so much after the relationship ended or something. I don't know why I keep bringing that bit up. So you need to ask what message the author conveys about the topic. So you must dissect the word that you're trying to use. So oversimplifying themes is another one. So you're reducing complex themes into single words, which is a big mistake as well. I've also made that mistake myself, because you always have more than one, but you realise it's not, you only have one theme to use, because you're not really, it's basically you didn't put the topic in, so you have to formulate themes as complete statements that express viewpoints or less. It's basically that you didn't put the theme. You just didn't have the topic. Or you just added too many themes. Or you made the story complicated. But even if you do make it complicated, there's still a theme there. Like capitalism, for example. And you're trying to talk about how money is made through commercialization or something. And then what's the theme behind that, basically? And you have so many words, capitalism, So make sure you tell people what you want to learn from that. Maybe don't overspend or don't get too fixated on the commercials. Or don't manipulate. Yeah, that sort of thing. Like, be careful. Or something. Or that item that you really wanted and everyone else got it and you followed the trend, then when you have it for like a month or so and you don't really do anything with it, or you just regret your spend on that item, that is another example of a theme. So money doesn't buy you happiness. That's basically another theme, basically. So you simplify it through that. And another thing people don't tend to do is ignoring evidence. So they don't actually research. So proposing themes without textual support. So you need to look for patterns that across characters, plot points and imagery to reinforce potential themes. So you do need to analyse the story that you set out to tell, the plan that you came up with, because that will help you and know what your theme is the theme of your story. Maybe you may have the topic, but you don't have the theme intact. As it's a bit opposite. It's similar to, much more the opposite of the second one as well, where the topic is not actually stated. So why distinguish theme and topic? Of course, you have to. It makes it more easier to plan out. So topics introduce the subject, themes provides lasting meanings. Yes, that is the reason. That is the main reason. And number 2, it helps enhance critical reading, analysis and writing abilities. So it improves it improved my way of doing it, because I know I'm able to distinguish theme and topic separately from doing more writing as well. So I've been writing a lot more, and it helped me improve the way I write my stories. I was writing short monologues, but then I started to write short scripts again, which improves my script writing ability now. So, and the third thing leads to richer interpretation and personal connection. So people are more likely to relate to that story though, if you have those things set in place. So the mastering, beg your pardon, between theme and topic unlocks deeper meaning in texts. It transforms passive reading into active engagement with ideas. It improves. You can actually come up with ideas loosely, and you don't have to be a participant. So that sort of thing, like birth of the reader, because the reader is now in charge of that text instead of the author. So that is how you distinguish between theme and topic, because they're both very much separate things. They're not the same, as we all discover. If you do more reading and writing and watching more films and or TV shows, you will definitely try or listen to music however you want to do it. It will help you with your writing and stuff. Or going to galleries, if you see a painting, what's that painting trying to tell you? What's the theme? And what is the topic? Or when was the painting set? When the artist made it? So there's different ways of learning about these things. So I hope you really like this video. If you do, please like, share, subscribe if you want to see more videos such as these. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.